Hey.
So I'm Jeff.
Hey Jeff, nice to meet you. I'm Charlie.
Charlie?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, good to meet you. So so you're Jewish. So my question: what do you think happens after we die? How would you respond to that?
Yeah.
At
Well,
this point in your life, I guess.
yeah. In Judaism, they teach that there is not really understood to be any sort of afterlife. Is the simplest way to look at it, or at least if there is, we can't really understand it. I think is a little bit more nuanced way to look at it. But the bottom line is that they don't really believe traditionally in any sort of like afterlife. So that's sort of the upbringing that colors my understanding of like mortality. Is that that's life, and no one really gets out alive. You know, that's sort of the end of the road.
Have you ever thought anything different, or looked into other religions, I guess, or other beliefs, or
I don't really think that there's too much that goes on after death, and that's not really something that bothers me. I recently buried a couple grandparents like in the last 6 or 7 months, and they were all very old and lived long, joyous lives, and we, my family celebrated their lives, and obviously there's sadness and mourning with the passing of like a parent or a grandparent, but it's not really. There's not really a means to sort of like take solace in seeing this person again. That's not really one of the ways that I think Jews traditionally like approach mourning. It's like, oh well, he's in heaven, he or she's in heaven now.
Right. We gotta say that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of like. But I mean, they say things like there's perhaps a more like spiritual sense that they may still be with us, not in a like literal sense, like they're literally in heaven right now, which would be more of like the perspective I think of like other religions, that there's like they're in heaven.
Maybe a ghost of some sort, or a spirit, or something like that.
No, I think just generally like the sense that they're they were with you.
They continue to have an influence,
sure,
like a legacy.
Sure, I think that's like a way to look at it.
Yeah. And now, would you consider, from what I understand, there's secular Judaism and religious Judaism. Are you in the religious side of things?
Well, it's a whole spectrum.
Yeah.
It's not just a binary choice between like secularism and like religious. There's even within religious Judaism, there's Reformed, Conservative, Orthodox.
Right.
So, but I'm no rabbi, but I believe across all of those levels of like orthodoxy, it's not really like there's not really like a heaven that's believed in.
Oh yeah, so that's a uniform belief. And would you say you believe in personally? Do you believe in God? I don't know if like.
Well, it's like an interesting question. I don't believe in God, maybe in the strictest sense, but I did have a really interesting experience lately that might answer your question. I was actually recently in New York, and I was taking the train up to a town about like an hour north of there. I'd never been to this town before. I was like navigating a new train system. I had like a lot of stuff with me. I was visiting like grad schools, and I was really in a rush to get to this like info session. It's the first day of a long tour of grad schools. I was like nervous. Left my wallet on the train when I got off, and I was like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever done. I'm screwed. This is the first day of my trip. I have no money. All I had was my phone. It's like I'm gonna have to call my parents. Like I'm so embarrassed. How could I be so stupid? Like I was here to look at schools and be an adult and."
Kind of getting down on yourself.
Yeah, and now I'm like, well, I don't really even know what to do. I guess I have to get this info session and go find a bank and get like a replacement debit card or something, cancel all my cards. So I was kind of freaking out, trying to figure out what to do. I went to find like a police station, like frazzled, like sweating, I have all this gear on me. Went to find the police officer working at the train station and they were able to help me out, and they found out that the train actually was about to turn around and head right back to New York, so it hadn't left the station yet. So we ran to the platform, and I was like running through the train. Like in my mind, it was already like back in Grand Central Station, like just having already been rifled through, but it was actually still there.
Yeah.
And the conductor had found it.
Okay.
And it's honestly like I guess I felt like it was sort of a blessing.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a weird way to answer your question. I don't think it was maybe one of the. It's crazy, but it was maybe this gives you some insight into like how I think and what matters to me. It was really one of the almost like a borderline religious experience because I was so sure that I was never going to. I was basically saved by. I was saved by like a stranger who found my wallet in this strange place.
And no one else had taken it?
No, nothing was. I mean, nothing was gone. And so perhaps we can find some of the goodness and lovingness of God and the strangers and the people around us.
Yeah.
So that was sort of what I took away. When that I felt extremely lucky. I mean that never happened. You lose a wallet, it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And when you say it was a blessing, it's like my understanding of blessing is something we don't deserve. And it sounds like you were being down on yourself, so you probably felt like, man, I didn't deserve to get that back. I should have lost it because I was
not paying attention.
Dumb enough to.
Well, I mean, I
whatever,
wasn't being dumb. To be honest, I was just not paying attention.
Yeah.
I was distracted. I was thinking about. I was like going to Yale to check out grad school. I was like nervous. I was like, oh my god, like.
So the idea that God could personally watch out for you, is that kind of a new thought?
It's not really something that I think I believe to be true in any capacity, but I think that the idea of perhaps finding like godliness in people and strangers and fellow mankind is something that might speak a little more to me.
I'm actually a high school English teacher and history, but in my English class we're reading Night by Elie Wiesel. I guess that's how you say it?
Wiesel.
Wiesel? Okay. Not Weasel. And I don't know if I've said that to my class, like his last name, but Wiesel.
Wiesel.
Okay. And, we're at the part where he basically loses, have you read it? Mm-hmm. Loses his faith because of this child being hung in the barracks or whatever, concentration camp. And he loses his faith, because of the inhumanity of man, to other men. And he loses his faith. He starts to think, because he starts out very religious, but he starts to think God, I don't know if he believes that God doesn't care or isn't there. But do you think that's a logical conclusion for him to make?
I don't.
I mean, we can't put ourselves in his position.
Yeah,
right?
I don't really think I can assess any of what he thought in terms of like logic and illogic.
Oh yeah, I mean, maybe it's not a fair question.
I understand. I understand what you're asking.
I guess what my thinking is as a Christian, I'm thinking, because as Christians, our belief is, beginning with the whole Genesis, that we have rebelled against God, and therefore our relationship with God is broken.
Okay.
And we don't deserve. That's the whole idea of a blessing. Is anytime God shows us any kind of the food on our table or the clothes on our back or extra time to repent in life, it's a blessing. It's something we don't deserve. We deserve, the wrath of God, the punishment for.
Well, you guys are all about like original sin, right?
Well,
that's not really something that is at all baked into my existence.
Yeah, I'm not Catholic, Protestant, but so I think original sin is more like you're just born guilty.
Yeah.
And I guess my understanding is that we're born with the tendency to sin, like we're going to sin, but we're not actually sinful until we do sin, which by the time we know what sin is, we already have done it, you know. So it's very close, but just to that we all have a conscience, sense of right and wrong, and we break it, which means we're breaking our relationship with God because we're not obeying His laws, and so how can we come back into a right relationship with Him? And so that's where that whole and so for me to read that, and again, far removed from the situation that he's in, is to think, is he blaming God for what people do? You know what I mean? Like these are people that are doing evil acts in these concentration camps, and why is God getting the blame for that?
Right.
But at the same time, he would say, well, God could stop it if He wanted to. So then there's the whole idea of like, why does our Creator allow evil and suffering in the world in the first place?
Right.
You know, which are those questions I don't want to go over my time here. But
no, sure.
Just wondering how.
Like
how do you reconcile the evil in the world?
Yeah, I don't reconcile it. Yeah.
Like
it's just there's no way to reconcile it.
Yeah.
It's just it's perhaps a result of there's a lot. Evil takes a lot of forms. I mean, there's like mundane evil that's like wage inequality. Like that's one type of evil. There's evil that's like literal genocide.
Systematic.
That's like another kind of evil. So it's hard to think about how I would like reconcile with evil in the world, because there's so many different genocide is incomprehensible. Murder is like incomprehensible. Something like wage inequality, wage theft. That's a type of evil that I think there are like ways to try to reconcile.
Yeah.
So, and you do that by like fighting for change. So, but as far as like what Elie Wiesel was up against, it's I think that book resonated with a lot of other survivors in their reactions to being slaughtered like cattle.
Yeah. When I come across things like that, again, I'm not in the situation, so I can't really say, but I have to say the same kind of evil is in me and is in all of us.
Sure.
You know, that we're all capable of those kind of acts, and I realized there was a lot of groupthink going on.
I don't know if we are all capable of those things.
I'd like to think not, but at the same time, I don't know.
It's sort of speculative. It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be capable of something like that.
You can approve? What?
I personally don't think I would be capable of being part of such blatant evil.
Yeah.
But we all. I'm complicit in evil by being a part of the system that oppresses and inhibits the freedom of my fellow people by not doing everything that I can to constantly shed light on injustice and inequality and fight for change. I suppose in a way I'm being complicit in that evil too, but it's not like my profession. It's not all I can do is try to have an awareness of it and try to speak out when I see something that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to wear out my welcome here.
Yeah, no worries.
So I'll turn that off, and I want to give you the website where you can see this. So